Hey everybody, Chris Agos here with another voiceover analysis video. Even though I've been an actor and a voice talent a really long time, I still try to stay sharp and get better by paying attention to what talent buyers are putting on air. When I come across a TV spot with a voiceover read that I think is really interesting or intriguing or particularly well done, I make a video about it and I share my thoughts with you guys. So I learn something, hopefully you learn something, and everybody wins. In this video, I'm going to talk about a TV spot that's been getting a lot of attention over the past couple of months, and not just because it's been aired out the wazoo. I'm talking, of course, about the Facebook apology spot. Turns out Facebook was caught with its pants down, being really careless about users' data, and they've decided to say sorry to us by putting out a TV spot in which they sort of apologize. Is the voiceover read any good, though? We're going to talk about that in just a second, so stick around. If you think this video is interesting and helpful to you, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe, because I plan on doing a lot more of these analysis videos in the future, and frankly, it just helps to know that I'm helping people out. So we've been seeing a lot of apology commercials from corporations recently. We've got an apology spot from Uber, from Wells Fargo, and of course from Facebook. Now, Uber's spot was basically a speech given by the CEO, so I didn't bother doing a video on that spot because the CEO's not a voice talent. He wasn't making choices in regards to his performance, so there really wasn't anything to learn from a voiceover standpoint. The Wells Fargo spot, however, was amazingly well done. It was amazingly performed and directed, and there is so much there to learn from as voice talent that I made a video about that, and if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out, especially if you're a voice talent or you're aspiring to be one, because there's just so much to learn in that 60-second spot. So definitely check that out. Now, does the voiceover read on the Facebook apology spot rise to the level of the Wells Fargo spot? Well, let's just roll a couple of seconds of it and we'll see what it sounds like.
We came here for the friends. And we got to know the friends of our friends. Then our old friends from middle school, our mom, our ex, and our boss.
There are a lot of things to say about this read, but the two things that I definitely want to bring up are the casting and what the voice talent does with the copy. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you know that I'm big on visualization. I like to listen to the voice talent and talk about the images that come to my mind as I listen to them do their thing with the copy. And basically what I get from this read is that the voice talent is very young, maybe a senior in high school or just in college, maybe a freshman or sophomore, and he's waking up from a nap. I can picture him leaning back, maybe with one arm behind his head, and he's just kind of hanging out. And he's looking up at his phone and he's scrolling. And maybe while he talks, he grabs a pair of earbuds and he's like putting them in, getting ready to do something else other than talk to us. He is so low energy, so much so that he doesn't even enunciate through parts of the spot. I don't want to say he mumbles, but I had to listen to the spot a couple of times just to make sure I got everything. And that extremely low energy is what gave me a lot of problems when I thought about doing this video. When I'm doing a video of a TV spot, I look for concrete, tangible examples of things that the voiceover does in order to push the story along, to help support the visuals. We are trained as voice talent to use things like pacing and pauses and intonation and inflections to not only support the visuals, but also to deliver the message that our clients are paying us to deliver. But in this read, there's almost none of that. There's like nothing to grab onto. Let's listen a little more.
Then we discovered our uncle used to play in a band and realized he was young once too. And we found others just like us. And just like that, we felt a little less alone. But then something happened. We had to deal with spam, clickbait, fake news, and data misuse.
Okay, so it turns out that we can identify a couple of things. Act 1 lasts from 0 seconds to about 31 seconds. And in that chunk of the spot, the bulk of the spot, he's just very laid back, very bored sounding almost. And then in 32, there's a shift, and he starts to list out all of the negative things that have been associated with Facebook recently, and he ups his pacing during that chunk. He goes through the list very quickly. Now, that helps him in a couple of ways. The first way is that we get through the negative parts of Facebook much faster. So we're just going to blow through those and hope that maybe people aren't paying attention to that particular chunk of copy. But it also lets him seem just a little bit more emphatic, a little more interested about what he's talking about in this particular section of the spot. And then at 39, he brings that list of negative things to a close with a downward inflection, and we get a little bit of resolution there.
That's going to change.
And then in Act 3 of the spot, he uses a classic voiceover trick of putting a pause between the second to last line and the last line.
Because when this place does what it was built for, then we all get a little closer.
When this place does what it was built for, it goes up with an upward inflection, asking us a question almost, asking us to anticipate what comes next. Then we all get a little closer. Now, he basically goes back to his nap at that point because he has not enough energy to pronounce the in then. Now, to me, a read like this is incredibly frustrating because it contains nearly no actual concrete choices by either the talent or whoever directed the talent in the session. You know, sometimes producers ask us to throw away lines in copy. All the other lines are much more important than this one line, and so they ask us to just throw this one chunk away. Here, though, almost every single line is a throwaway line. To my ear, it sounds like this guy's teacher asked him to read something out loud for the class, and that's what he's doing. He makes no effort to get the words up off the page, and all those things that voice talent like to hang on to build the world of the spot, to kind of really construct and build their read, all those things aren't there. There's no attitude. There's no point of view. It's not a particularly friendly read. He's not trying to inform us of anything. There's no authority or expertise. He's not even really talking to us. In fact, to my ear, it sounds like he's not talking to anyone at all. But then I realized that's not completely true. He's just not talking to me. I am definitely not the demographic that this spot is aimed at. I am not the audience for this spot. I'm in my 40s, I got a couple of kids, and even though I've been a Facebook user for over a decade, in this case, they're talking to someone much younger. I'd say anybody under 30. The copywriting really is written from a much younger person's point of view. Among other things, there's a line in there about discovering that your uncle used to be in a rock band and realizing that he was young once too. Just that line right there tells me that the intended audience is definitely young themselves. So I think that's why this read doesn't do anything for me. Advertisers have gotten so far away from the idea of an announcer that we wind up with reads like this. Unfortunately, I just feel like reads like this don't accomplish anything. But that could be because of my demographic and because of the way I listen to TV spots. If you're under 30, in your teens or your 20s, I'd really be interested to see what you think of this read. Does it sound like you talk and how you talk to your friends or how they talk to you? I'd love to know, no matter how old you are, what you think of the read, so let me know in the comments. I also want to say that it might seem like I'm really bashing the performance that this particular voice talent gave us, and that's really not my intention. It's important to keep in mind that any voiceover performance that winds up in the final version of a spot is very much a team effort. There are a number of decision makers that craft and shape that voiceover read. It's not just what the talent brings to the table. Often, the talent will walk into the booth with an idea about how the read should go, and they're directed in a completely different way, and it winds up sounding nothing like what they intended. That could have happened in this case. This could also be the case where this is not a professional voice talent. This is someone maybe who worked at the ad agency, maybe works at Facebook themselves. I don't know, but my intention was not to destroy the voice talent. I just think that the read, to my ear, just sounds so incredibly flat that I feel like there's really not much we can learn from it. But we can always learn from anything. So, as a professional voice talent, what are some takeaways from a read like this? First, I think it's really important when you first get a piece of copy for an audition that you clearly identify who your audience is. You want to define who you're talking to. And in this case, we can tell that we're talking to a much younger audience, younger to me. If you're 20, it's, your peers, they're talking to you. So I would definitely strip all of the sell or anything like that out of the read. I definitely would keep in mind that my audience is younger, and so my read should be skewed younger as well. And secondly, I think it's worth developing this style of read. Clearly, this is a choice that a major advertiser is making. They think that to speak to their audience, this is a relatable way to do it. That means if you're called upon to do that, if you're going way up and down with your inflections, if you're just pushing too hard, you're not going to get that job. So I definitely think we could all work on our use of subtlety and pacing and bringing it all way, way down. That might help us to move up a couple of notches in the list of talent that are being considered for the job. Now, I would never advocate for you to sound like you're just waking up from a nap. But hey, I mean, if you're in the booth and your producer is like, pull it back, flatten it out, I want to hear nothing. Well, all you got to do is think of this read, and that's an example. That's probably what the producer's going for. Anyway, I think that's it for me. Let me know again what you think about the read, and I'll see you in the next video.